take a picture of us
Okay.
and put it on social.
Okay. Welcome to Nerdarchy for nerds by nerds. I'm Nerdist Dave, and today I'm hanging out with the Queen of D&D, Satine Phoenix. How are you?
Yeah, buddy, I'm so good.
I know it's been so long and everything shut down, so usually I get to run into you for at least a little bit at the conventions and hang a little bit, but not so much this year.
Yeah, I know. It's weird, but it's also like I'll take what I can get now. I mean, it's not the same as like throwing the air mattress in my living room and having a slumber party, but
Yeah.
it's almost. You are in my living room.
Yes. So, you know, how is your apocalypse going?
Maniacally.
Nice.
It's really strange because, the only real difference is I'm not doing conventions, but I also am addicted to traveling, and that is something that's like makes me who I am, and I'm like one of those introverted extroverts. So I have to be out in front, like I have to be out with a ton of people, and also I need to be completely alone. It's a very strange. I'm learning a lot about myself. But
So,
last year I went virtual with all my work,
uh,
so aside from going to conventions, so I run, 3 or 4 games a week. My Patreon, I do coaching, I do player coaching, dungeon master coaching, storytelling coaching. And so I'm working a lot, but also I'm a little cave dweller.
yeah, that's funny because Nerder Doug, works for us full time now, and his girlfriend, works remotely mostly anyway, but like completely remotely now. So sometimes they'll just have work days where they work together, and and it'll be like an 8 odd time, and she's like, "Should I be working right now?" Like I'm home. So
Yeah.
it definitely creates this weirdness. This time is just odd right now. I've always kind of, well, not always, but for the past 3 4 years now, I've been working from home, so that hasn't changed for me very much. But now, like, Steph's home all the time, the kids are home all the time, and they pretty much never leave. So, so like that's the biggest change. People are here with me all the time.
Yeah, I spend so much time alone. I travel, I love airports. I work, by myself at home by myself. And now my boyfriend and I are spending more time together. And I'm like, wow, what is this connection I'm feeling? And oh, look at us. We're productive. Like we just shot a short film called Hell's Bells. It's a Dresden fan film, and it's on YouTube under Heath Harper's YouTube. And he'd been working on it for a few years. And I have all this equipment that I use for live streaming, this Black Magic, beautiful Black Magic equipment. And I'm like, you know what? I miss producing and like doing stuff. I don't know how to do a one camera. I want to learn how. He's an actor. I should just shoot him. He needs to finish this film. And it was like this perfect like chaos that all came together where, well, we're not doing or going anywhere, seeing anyone else. Let's see what we can do. And we just finished it yesterday.
So a new hobby, perhaps.
Oh yeah, I am so addicted to this. It's like it's just so satisfying, right? And like I like being behind the camera because obviously I'm usually in front of the camera, but it's kind of like when I was making my comic books. It's like I have a vision. It's very
Yeah.
artsy. But yeah, so we've been working on that, and we're working on a campaign. It's not supposed to be a campaign, but it's turning into a campaign.
Now, in the pinned comment, you can find links specifically to some of the stuff that you're mentioning, that Satina's mentioning, and the difference too is like you do a lot of GMing, and when you're GMing, you have a vision and a story, but then vision story meets players, and they're like lols, and and then it becomes this group experience where you're talking about projects where you're wholly it's just your hand at the helm, and you get to create and you get to create the outcomes as well.
Yeah, well, this one's interesting. So it's both of our brains working together to make this story. And then, that's a lot of when we're both hyper creative. So it's a lot of information in this stuff. And then when you send it out for playtest, you're like, okay, this is what I intend. Are they receiving it the way we intend? And then you have to imagine there's people who are going to try to break the hell out of the game, like all the way. And then there's people who just are completely bought in from the beginning. So being able to understand that it's not going to satisfy everyone but how do you put in variables that might give those people who are trying to break it the attention they need to at least enjoy it?
So, what is the inspiration for this campaign that you're working on? And I assume it's for D and D.
Yeah, because all I play is Dungeons and Dragons. Yeah, we were on a trip to Merced. I did a talk in Merced, and we were talking about this game. And Heath had this idea for a gladiator game, and so we just worked on it. It was like a 4 hour drive up there, and then we were driving around Yosemite and drove back, and then it just kind of elaborated. And we watched a lot of Rome and Spartacus, and it turned out to it's called the Gladiators of of course. What am I saying? I want to make sure because we kept changing the name. I'm not going to say what it is until after I pull it up.
I
But
feel
it's
you
a
there.
gladiator game, and the name might change.
I feel you there because what happens is like you work on a project and it has a working name because you haven't decided on a title yet. And then
Yeah,
once you do have the title, it's so hard to remember what the title of it is because you use the working name for so long.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it just keeps evolving. And Heath is such a beautiful writer, and I get to be an artist. And that's really beautiful. So I'm doing all the layout and so I'm learning InDesign. This is quarantine brain. I'm
Yeah.
Satine. I cannot stop doing everything that I do because I'm just so creative. So um, InDesign, doing all the illustrations. Uh, I'm using both of us for the photo reference. So it's really I just play. I guess I just play all day.
Well, and the other thing is we have to keep working because, bills, they keep happening regardless.
Yeah, that's true. That is very true. And I feel very blessed that I chose a path that was a playful path, and that there are people out there now who are like, oh, I see. I would like to learn. And now it's just like, it's beautiful. And all my clients I become friends with. And so I get to talk to people and catch up with them. So it's not even like it's not even transactional. It's
Hmm.
straight up, oh, okay, well, this is where we are. And this is, I'm getting paid for my time, but also I get to learn about so many other brains. It's really cool.
Yeah, back way when I used to be a personal trainer, and one of the most rewarding things was the interaction with other people on that like deep personal level. Uh,
Yeah.
and people in any industry make the job the best and the worst. So that part I do miss because we don't have like the close interactions that we used to. Because it's more like for us, it's more like our audiences see us, but we don't really get to see them. I mean, it's the same thing for you, but it sounds like you're doing a lot more things that are more intimate as well now.
Yeah, I'm just kind of an intimate person in general too. So I'm trying to do something that's fulfilling to me and other people. Yeah, and I just like I'm a helper. It was weird though because I get a lot of the, oh, you're charging for dungeon mastering. I'm like, okay, well, let me tell you how much time it takes to dungeon master. It's not just sitting in front of you. It's the hours of prep and the questions and the attention and how much it's like I try to give everything I have, when I'm dungeon mastering. And I know a lot of other dungeon masters do too. And, time is valuable. And I don't know. It
Well,
was a weird, I get shamed for it a lot, but
yeah.
also I don't care because I love it. So this is my job and it's great.
Well, on the plus side, that's pretty much all paid DMs get shamed for. We were talking about this a little bit last night, before we played a game. I don't know if you're familiar with the YouTube channel Esper the Bard.
Oh, no, not yet. Now I do.
Yeah, check him out. He may actually be the first D&D YouTuber. He may be
Oh,
patient
cool.
zero. So he just started dipping his toe into it, and then Megan Hardy was playing with as well, and she does OutSchool, which is like this
Yeah.
homeschooling program. But like
Yeah.
she was one of the first ones to start running like D&D classes, and she does like 70 hours a week of
That's
D&D
amazing.
for kids. So we were talking about the whole paid DMing thing a bit because they both kind of do that, and Esper was asking her for some advice because she's been doing it for a while and has been fairly successful at it. I
Yeah,
don't
I've been
know.
doing this for like businesses too.
Yeah.
So
Oh, cool.
helping businesses understand what the importance of storytelling for what they're selling, because I also do marketing, right? So community manager. It's really important to in
So,
art school we learn that everything you see communicates, everything you hear communicates. So you have all these products and people are like, I can't sell my product. It's like, well, what story are you telling? So people hire me for their companies, for their their marketing department or for their production. Like, is does this shape communicate what I want it to communicate? It's really cool. Actually.
that actually doesn't sound nearly as cool as my headcanon where you're running games of Dungeons and Dragons for the boards.
Well,
All
I do
these
that
really,
too. So
all these muggles sitting around trying to figure out their character sheets.
yeah, well, that's the thing, right? It's D&D, so it's a range. You can either, I can give them a D20 and that's it, and make them understand like the game is about choice and about probability. Like, I want to do this. Can I do it? Well, what's the range of probability that you can or can't do it? And so they understand that. And so, you start really, really basic with the muggles. But they catch on because there was a point in time where they were six.
Yeah, and that's just it. It's like this whole game. I just call when people ask me what I do. I was like, oh, we talk about playing make believe essentially, as as adults. I mean, and the cool thing too is like you can say Dungeons and Dragons, and now pretty much everybody knows, or maybe not know, but they have a concept in their mind what that is.
Yeah. Well,
It's grown so
Stranger
big.
Things, Stranger Things really did it. The more people I talk to, the more I hear that people under 20 found out about it through Stranger Things. And it's really great because a lot of my mom and dad friends are like, I'm so excited. Stranger Things had my kid ask me if they could play D&D. Like, that is just remarkable.
What a shift! What a shift from
Yeah.
when we were kids and like parents were like, "No, you can't play. That's satanic."
I know.
And now parents are getting excited when their kids ask about it.
Yeah, and it's funny because I know that a lot of people want to be like, just so you know, we had it rough. And then there's a part of me that's like, you know what? We did have it rough, but it's not for the new generation to have the weight of that on their shoulders. It's not for us to put in the gatekeeping on to those people. Let them experience it the way they want to experience it and learn about it. Learn about it in a world where men and women and non-binary and transgender and everybody under the sun has access to it and can play it. Even 5 years ago, 5 years ago it was different.
Yeah.
10 years ago it was different. 10 years ago I walked into a convention and was super happy. I wore my rogue outfit and I walked in, got about 20 feet and felt horrible. I was like, I don't belong here. People are looking at me in a not fun way. I mean, nobody knew who I was, but I was a girl and I was cosplaying. And that was not something that you did at the convention. This is Los Angeles, right? So going from that to now traveling the world, creating events for accessibility for other people and to introduce people to one another, like, we've come a long way in the last 10 years.
I agree. And you know what too? Like everyone's experience is different. Even though I grew up during and played during the Satanic Panic, that never affected our group. Like I remember us joking about it because it was a joke to us because like it was something we saw on TV, but like my parents actually didn't care what I did, so I could actually literally be worshiping the devil and they would have noticed or cared. But the rest of my friend group, like it wasn't even really a thing. For us, like when I think back, it's more about like it just wasn't an accessible hobby. Like there wasn't tons of people that did it. There weren't game stores. I remember getting my books from Walden Books and B. Dalton Books, and there was a comic book store that would have like one shelf with some gaming stuff on it, but it just wasn't accessible. But I know other people in other parts of the country where that was a huge thing for them.
Yeah. Well, it's really interesting that over time, a lot of us, so, you've been playing for a long time. I've been playing for 32 years, 33 years now, and 32 exactly. And it's a lot of people were playing it during a time where they were getting bullied, they were getting abused, and like me, where I was getting abused, it was the thing that I did that made me feel comfortable, and it was my security blanket. What I'm seeing is a lot of adults who did this as a kid and it was their security blanket. They're holding on to that blanket so hard. They're like, you're not playing it right. That is, don't come into my game and don't, it's not supposed to be that way. This is the way that I know it's supposed to be. And it's very interesting to watch that happen and see people that don't understand that they're holding on to it because of the security it gives them, not understanding that it is the security that a lot of people have, you know. I mean, now, like I said, in the last few years, it is people have let go of the blanket and are now offering the blanket to other people. But it's just like looking back over the last 5-10 years, what a change.
Yeah, I mean, I guess good and bad for us was we've always been really self-contained. So like we didn't see that stuff and it didn't affect our table, and whoever showed up was welcome to show up. And we've had all kinds of different people over the years come in and out. It wasn't until we started Nerdarchy that we really acknowledged the wider world when it came to gaming. Like, we've always gamed in one of our houses for as long as I can remember. It would be decades later before I even stepped foot into a gaming store to play a game. And it was really, and actually that was weird and unsettling to me at first. I remember even like we were playing at my brother Ryan's house, and he was while he was in college, and he had a couple roommates, and some of the roommates showed up with a bunch of friends, and we're sitting here playing D&D, and it just felt so weird to be around the Muggles while we're trying to play the game.
There was one game store in Citrus Heights. I'm from Sacramento up north. And there was one game store in the Birdcage shopping center. And it had like vampire posters all over the top, black and white, beautiful illustrations. And I think I gamed in there once or a few times. There's also like a cafe right around the corner, like in that little shopping center we'd all hang out and smoke at.
Yeah.
But other than that, we just played at school. Yeah, right before drama club, and then we played at each other's house after that. But like a lot after school.
Yeah, I think that would have got you beat up in my school. So
well, we were the drama club, so everyone made fun of us anyway.
Yeah. Well, you know what? So
I never cared though. Like I've always been ballsy.
Yeah.
Like, what you laughing at? What are you laughing at?
but oddly enough, like I was like, I guess I don't know if they still even have the cliques the way they did, when I was a kid. But I was always like kind of a troublemaker and a metalhead, so like I didn't really have those problems. But we also didn't talk about D&D. It was like Fight Club. Like we call, like, so me and my friends were all like metalheads. Some of them were musicians, and we would call gaming rocking out. So there's like code words. Yeah.
That's hilarious. Yeah, I mean, I never cared what people thought of me. I did stop playing D&D right after college. I played all the way through college, and then I was hanging out with like strippers and stuff, and they were like, let's do other things. I'm like, yeah, let's do it. And I was like, wait a minute, this stuff sucks. I want to go back to playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
So I think my hiatus was only like 3 years.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I did see the mingling of worlds with I hit it with my axe, and that was like one of the first like games I seen played online.
That was punk rock. That was a moment in history,
Yeah.
Like it didn't end well for a lot of people, and people change. You don't see the way things are going, behind the scenes, but that moment was so significant. There was an IO9 article where I was talking about D&D and talking about this game, and somebody was like, you're making money off of my favorite hobby. And I'm like, we really didn't make much money at all. Like they barely paid us for our time. We did it because we loved it. Also, I've been playing my whole life. And he's like, well, you didn't get bullied like the rest of us. And it was so weird because I was like, you motherfucker, let me tell you about what I got. I got brownies thrown at my head. I was the school nerd to the point where people would invite me to parties to make fun of me so I would cry and go home. They wrote songs about how horrible I was or how horrible my teeth were and like just really nasty. I was the school girl nerd. And I broke it down, and the person was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry. I You are a human being, and I'm very sorry." And it was so amazing, this weird comment thread, because usually I don't care, but it's D&D. It's where my heart lives. I've been playing it as long as I've been like truly coherent, and it really means more to me than just a game. It was the thing I held on to when horrible, horrible things like people cannot even fathom the 9 years of hell that I went through as a kid. And that's like, it is me. I have a tattoo of the ampersand on my neck for a reason. It is my longest relationship. So when people were coming out about like, oh, these women are doing this thing, and I was like, oh, hell no, you step back.
That's always been so bizarre to me anyway. Why would you want to chase the opposite sex or anybody really from the hobby that you enjoy? I would rather have people that I can connect with that enjoy the same things that I enjoy. But I don't really talk about this very much, or actually I haven't really talked about it at all. Is that like D&D was a huge escape for me because my house was so full of domestic violence,
Mm-hmm.
drugs, alcohol, cops showing up all the time, and like I couldn't like I remember like the last sleepover I had as a child, and like I would never do it again just because like what I thought was normal,
Oh,
like
wow.
we had an incident that night, and like my friend was like horrified. So, and then
Yeah.
like it's like because you whatever your normal is your normal, and like I didn't have the problems in school that maybe you had because maybe like my coping mechanisms were probably different, like
Yeah.
so like I just got like really cold and hard as a person when I was a kid, so I didn't have those. I wasn't, but I was more inclined to be the person to bully than get bullied.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's the other part of it, right?
Yeah, so
That's what I'm talking about. It's escapism. It is how it was our safe space. And so it's really important that we provide that safe space for other people. So I don't know how much I've talked about God, I feel like I haven't talked to you in a really long time. But I'm writing a book on how D&D helped me through PTSD and trauma. And like, from the beginning, the year that it started happening to me is the year I started playing Dungeons and Dragons. And healing from trauma, um I'm just woke up. I did not take my brain pills. I'm so sorry.
it's
There's
okay.
a
Take
book
your time.
called Mind Keeps the Score, and one of the things, it's about trauma, and usually they talk about how child abuse and um, uh, military veterans have a very similar kind of trauma, and part of the ways to heal from that is by doing something like being a part of a stage play. And I was like, that's really fascinating. And what is that about? That is about cooperation, being a part of a team, and recreating memories, right? So now I'm linking it to Dungeons and Dragons. Where are the similarities in that? You are with an adventuring group, you have a guide who gives you obstacles and you overcome them. You can come up with a decade of history and experiences with your adventuring party that will overwrite and rewrite you like the experiences you've had as a person. So you can go through 10 years in 3 hours or a month. Like that is so beautiful to me. And so when I started learning about that, now I'm more careful in what I do in my games. Like the Blade Weather game that we're making now, it's very pushy. It pushes a lot of buttons that I might not play this on a live stream because it starts off. Well, I can't. I don't want to spoil it because it's like boom, surprise.
Yeah.
Um, but like I have to be very careful with how I'm dungeon mastering because now I understand that Just because someone doesn't tell you about the trauma they had doesn't mean they've never had trauma. And my trauma is different than other people's trauma, but doesn't make it their trauma less severe or less horrifying, right? So when people sit at my table, I assume everyone has had an experience that was not the best experience. So why am I dungeon mastering? I'm now here providing a space for people to escape whatever reality there is trying to escape, but also being sensitive enough not to trigger them or try not to trigger them, or if something triggers them, being available for them to communicate with me and understand that we are so vulnerable playing with each other. And now that I'm playing at conventions all over the world, I'm like, whoa, people don't realize how fragile each other is, right? We're like, we're going to go in and we're going to kill that thing. Well, this person just spent 20 minutes interrogating somebody in a very militaristic, modern kind of way. And I am so disturbed. I actually need to stand up and get away from this table because there is a intention behind that interrogation that is not fun, you know? So being able to like see these things, recognize them, follow the table, see what players are affecting other people. There's a lot of work being a dungeon master.
Yeah, you know what too? Like the game, we remember the game differently than we do other experiences. When people talk about playing game RPGs, they talk as if the things actually happen to them.
Yeah.
And you know, I've seen over the years where people get into the game a little bit too much when you're playing because they're kind of like living it a little bit.
Yeah.
We had an instance at the table where the player's character was threatening an NPC played by the dungeon master, but afterwards the dungeon master is like, "You did not look into so and so's eyes when he was like saying what he was saying." Yeah,
Yeah.
and it was like he was a little shaken.
Yeah. And it's really funny. So obviously I come from many underworld worlds and I am not ashamed of them. I don't often talk about them, but I also don't think people realize the benefits of having done that. The things that I've learned, for instance, you take a bunch of adventurers through, chaos and they need aftercare. They need a moment for you to like sit down and be like, okay, guys, that adventure was great. Instead of going, okay, great game, guys. I'll see you later. And then leaving. Like, you need to spend like 20, 30 minutes after, like, post coital style, with your adventuring party because they're high. You've just released endorphins. I'm very appreciative that I understand what what horror, what elation, what kind of chemicals those release in your body, and understand how certain feelings you have to come down from. I used to do a lot of drugs. I don't now, but I understand that when this happens, okay, so we all have to come in and compensate this way. You could leave somebody in a trauma if you were not there to hold them post an intense battle or post an intense, social encounter. It's very this game is a lot more impactful on people than we let it, than we understand. And I see a lot of conflict, especially right now. Oh boy, like tables are changing. People are changing. There's a lot of lack of control, and now people are lashing out in games or outside of games. I hear about it like player and player, and then all like players and players are now interacting with each other in weird ways. Like you're not playing the game right, or we need to do it like this because now parents are stuck with their kids and they have no control over their realities. And so now putting it into and lashing out in games. So if there's anything that I want to like throw out there to people is be a little more gentle with each other and understand um, that your friends are going to be a little more aggressive or sensitive. And if you can remember that when things are happening in a game or even outside of a game, and just kind of have a little bit of patience and understanding and be like, you know what? We're just going to take a step back right now. This is not you. This is you in trauma in reacting to a situation.
We've always tried to spend like some time before the game and after the game just kind of hanging out, right? One is like oftentimes we get all these stories and like what should I do, and the first thing that we say oftentimes is who are you playing this game with? You should you should be playing it with your friends. And I mean, this is my opinion. You should be playing this game with your friends or people you want to be friends with. If you would not hang out with people outside of a game, you probably shouldn't play the game with them.
Yeah.
It's probably just it's not a good fit.
Well, sometimes you find a group online and all of a sudden you're like, we are the best group. Like, we are so much fun. And you play with them. And the longer you play with them, you don't know them until you play with them. But then over time, you find out that, oh, this person is a little controlling. And if you are, our community across the board is like, generally speaking, I will generalize this. We do not like confrontation. So the problem is you have your friend or somebody who you want to be your friend. They do a thing and you're like, well, I don't feel comfortable when they did that thing, but I really want to hang out with the group. So I'm just going to not be the troublemaker. I'm not going to say anything. But then, of course, it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. And then all of a sudden, I hate it when you do this. Whoa, where did that come from? Well, I'm
Yeah.
defensive. Well, you're defensive. Well, you shouldn't have been doing this for the last 6 months. And then the group breaks up or someone has to leave or there's animosity. I think that we definitely need to learn patience, but also how to communicate our feelings.
Yeah, and I guess to that end, what I'm really saying is people need to whether you're playing online and in person, is try to connect with the other people that you're gaming
Yeah.
with, not just in the game but outside of the game as
Yeah.
well. I feel like if you do that, it makes one, you can build lifelong friendships, but two, it also makes your game stronger when you have a better understanding of people and you've connected with them on a deeper level than their only purpose is for this game, right? And then we're going to all part our ways and we don't interact with each other at all. To me, that is just bizarre.
Yeah. Yeah. Even like I said, even the people on my Patreon, I still talk to them outside of the game. We'll check in on each other and we'll talk. And even though we are playing this game, I still care about them and I want to know how they're doing. And, yeah,
They're people. Well,
they're
and I guess
people. Yeah, we're all
yeah,
people.
we're people. And I guess I mean maybe that's part of the thing with the why people get flack about the paid DMing is because it does kind of change the nature of it, to a degree. 'Cause I mean there's more of an expectation now, but at the same time, like when I look at it, like someone like you're essentially kind of a celebrity in this realm, and you couldn't possibly game with everyone anyway, right? Even if you attempted to do that, it would never happen,
Yeah.
right? But you can quantify your time and go, okay, well, here's how much time I have to slice off, and here's what I need to do to make that valuable to me as well. It's not because
Yeah. Plus, I love doing it. It's not like I don't. I am in love with dungeon mastering. It's a thing that I want to do all the time.
well, and sure, and why shouldn't you want to get paid to do something you love doing? I mean, that's the best. Like prior to doing Nerdarchy, I never had a job that I was like, I can't wait to go into work today. Personal training was
I was
close.
gonna say, I feel like you would really like to be a personal trainer. Like, I feel like that's something that made
I
you happy.
did, but I had to do it so much
Mm.
to make enough money to support my family. I didn't enjoy being in the gym anymore. Uh,
Oh no!
well,
Can we
yeah,
talk about the gym really quick?
yeah. Like I
Oh,
had days
buddy.
where I would see 16 people
Oh
in
my
a
god.
in a day, right? Because there were shorter sessions or whatever. And at that point, you like, and I'm an introvert, like hardcore, hard stop introvert. People will sometimes be like, "Well, I'm not an extrovert like you." I'm like, I'm not really. I do well in small groups or one on one, but once you get past like two, three people, like I feel like I want to escape.
Yeah, yeah. I miss the gym so much. I've worked out 5 times in the quarantine, where I was working out every day for an hour or two a day before quarantine. I did get a rowing machine. It's this little tiny thing over here. Or you can probably see, I don't know if anyone else can see it, but I've got this beautiful folding, like small, compact rowing machine. But man, I love the act of walking into the gym with my headphones on, nodding at the people who I've been seeing there for the last 10 years and just going on, and do my routine. It's not the same doing it
Yeah.
here. It's not the
Yeah.
same at all. I have been running on the street every once in a while, but it is, oh gosh, I miss it. I miss the smell of sweaty people.
My so my yard is like it's like 2/3 of an acre, 0.66. So we like do. My family has been kind of doing laps around the yard.
Oh, cool.
So I've started doing that to do something, and my shoulders are jacked up, or I would be lifting, and I'm trying to figure. Like I went through all the protocols up to the cortisol shot, and then just got exhausted by the medical system. I'm like, I don't care. My arms can just fall off. I don't even want arms anymore.
Yeah, he just did that.
Yeah.
He got his shoulder was out of whack. It took months. I'm talking months and months, but he finally got his second shoulder shot,
Yeah.
and now he's like, I can lift again.
Yeah, but it feels better, but it may or may not be better because if you have tears and you don't know about it, like the shots make you feel better. But so like
Oh no.
because you have to get the x-rays, then you have to do the physical
Yeah.
therapy, then they'll give you the shot, and then after the shots they will give you the MRI to actually know if you have tears or not.
Oh
And
man.
and I never, and I just got to the point where I didn't like my ortho, and I was just kind of tired of going.
Oh
And
man, yeah.
like every time I went there, all he did was talk about what did he talk about? Geez, I was totally falling out of my head. Specific type of workout, but and that's all he would talk about, and himself the whole time. And I was just like, ugh, it was so annoying to go there. Now, my wife just had both of her hips replaced, and I love her doctor. Like, he is the best doctor, and, like, it's about explaining what's going on and talking about, what her issues were, and he's just so personable.
Oh,
Where,
that's great.
you,
Yeah,
you
you need
know,
someone like that.
yeah, so now, once this is all over, I have to start over again and get them looked at. But like my concern is there's tears, and I don't want to make it worse.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been when I got back into lifting, I went so slow. At first I went fat hard. Like I know I was like, I used to be a fitness model. I'm gonna do this. And then I was like, wait, Satine. Treat it like you're dungeon mastering. Sit back, listen to your body, listen, like start slow, add on, do the motions, get the motions right, add on the weights very slowly over a month. It's going to take you 6 months to get back into where you were before. Take your time. And then I did. And by building up so slowly, like a little baby, just super slow, I
Smart.
ended up building like this beautiful interior muscles that stabilized me to the point where I was like, I can feel everything again. This is amazing. And now I know exactly what I'm doing. And yeah, it was really nice. And I miss it. I do have
Yeah,
weights here. I should just do it.
it was super smart on your part. Like my son wanted to was getting into sports, and he was throwing shot put. So he's like, I want to go to the gym. I'm like, all right, we'll go to the gym. And I started lifting, and I thought I was going slow, but and I guess like I didn't lose a lot of strength, and the muscles came back really fast, but the joints did not.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's the thing, right? So I started with no weight and motions, low weight and the right motions, and then I have to take MSN glucosamine chondroitin every day,
yeah.
and I do that. So my joints are like, I just hit 40 2 days ago.
Happy
I'm very
birthday.
proud of myself. I made it, but also I worked really hard not to look like I'm 40 and not to feel like I'm 40. So now I'm like, what do I have to do to like make sure this is sustained for the next 10 years, And one of the things is joint movement, for people over 40 is like, you got to make sure your joints are good and your bones are good, because like take that calcium, take those joint medications, drink a shit ton of water, because, like that's super important also for your collagen in your skin. But I do a lot of stretching, and as I'm cracking now, I'm like moving like, God, now I just want to work out.
Yeah.
But the stretching is so important. So Heath has been teaching me Tai Chi. I
Okay.
thought that was really cool because It's that movement. It's the thing that you see really, 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 really old people do, and they can do these like cool low bends and movements. And I'm like, I if I start that now, in 20 years, I'm gonna be just fine.
Be a Tai Chi master.
That's right. Or I just want to not be static. I mean, we
Yeah.
sit all the time as dungeon masters. You're sitting there researching, you're sitting there making stories, you're sitting there dungeon mastering, you're sitting there listening. So all of a sudden, what does that do to your body? Well, those I had these muscles. I can't remember what they're called, but they're in your hips. They're in the front on the side. If you take
Hip
like your
flexors.
the hip flexors, mine were atrophied.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got a TENS unit, and I've been like bringing it back to
And the
life. And
glutes
I've been doing,
stretch.
yes, exactly. And you get
Yeah.
like the jiggle, you got the wobble butt. So,
It was not even that. It's not necessarily visible. It's just that the muscle, the muscle becomes stretched, and then it's not as it's not as strong as it used to be. So that's where you have those hip issues.
yeah. So I started getting a TENS unit, and it's like this electricity,
Mm-hmm.
and it's reactivating it. And that's been very, very helpful. I'm
Yeah.
just sitting there watching TV with electricity going through my body.
You remember when I was telling you I had a hip problem when we came out to visit?
Yeah.
It took like 2 years for that to go away.
How'd you get it to go away?
It just eventually did. I mean I'd been stretching and working out and trying to do things to try and help it. But it just took that long to freaking heal.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like I think it was like it was bothering me for a bit before that too. So it was like 3 years. Uh, and I'm very embarrassed on. I know how I injured it. I'm very embarrassed about it. I'm not going to talk about it here. But but my shoulders, right? I know it happened with that too. Like I had been working out and feeling good, and I was taking it slow, and my buddy was like, "Well, how much can you bench out and bench?" I'm like, "I don't know. I don't really worry about it. I just kind of go in and work to exhaustion, and that's
Oh
it." So the
no.
next time I went out, I'm like, "I don't know. How much can I?" I put on like
Oh
205 on the
no.
bar, and I went deep and did some reps, and I think that was it.
Yep.
I think I just popped both my shoulders.
Oh
And
no.
I didn't feel it right away. I didn't feel it until a couple days later. I was in the gym and we were training legs,
Mm-hmm.
and we were using the Smith machine, and I couldn't grab the
Oh
bar. Like it
no.
hurt to grab the bar. Like I wasn't doing anything with the bar with my upper body at all. I was just resting it. But
Oh
like
my
opening my
gosh.
shoulders, I was like, "Oh, that's not right." So I was like just resting the bar and just used the other arm that didn't hurt so much. But and that's one of the reasons why I didn't like that ortho either, because he's like, "Oh, I hate those." I'm like, "This machine had nothing to do with it. Like, it wasn't even part of the story." But he wanted to.
Oh
It's like a
man.
DM
Yeah.
that insists on running you through their adventure and their story.
You're like, I no longer want to play this game with you anymore.
Yeah, pretty much. So
Yeah, it's like I talk about fitness and health a lot and nutrition, as I just ate a whole lot of cake and drank a lot of alcohol for my birthday. But generally, outside of that, to be in the right mind, to be around and dungeon master, I try to be as fit as possible, because like people rely on me to keep their stuff together, like to keep the game together and to pay attention and care about them. And like I can't be caring about people if I'm drunk, because that's like a very internal thing, right?
yeah.
I see a lot of dungeon masters who can drink, and I'm like, I cannot drink and game at the same time. It's like one or the other. Like I'm playing and I'm focused on you, or I'm just in my thing and I'm me and I'm Satine and I'm drinking. Like those are my two modes.
I don't drink while I game either. Very rarely. Is there any alcohol or substances at our tables? Um, you know, and like I play with Ted, and Ted never drinks, so
Yeah.
so that makes it a really easy. Occasionally, like a beer or two will show up, but our games are usually just about hanging out and playing the game.
Yeah, usually it's eating. That's the
Yes.
D&D thing. That's the D&D way. Yeah, it's the eating. So Keith and I, he cooks all the time. I'm in a new relationship. I'm going to talk about him a lot. He cooks, and so when we game, we just have like cheese platters now, and like little gherkins and mustard and whatever, instead of like your chips and stuff.
Pizza.
Yeah. And it's really fun, but we still gorge ourselves. Like you can't help it. It's Dungeons and Dragons. You're gonna eat everything in your face.
I think, Dungeons and Dragons is a very social event, so people eat when they get together and socialize and or drink. So I guess that's why those things kind of go with it. But yeah, our group is the same way. Food, but it's always garbage food. We don't have good food at our table. Like right now, I am trying to get back into just getting my body moving. I haven't even touched my diet yet, which is a mess. And like I'm diabetic, so I have so much to work to do on my diet.
Oh no.
It's like it actually depresses me, to be honest with you. All I see is everything I can't eat, and
Yeah.
and it's
That's
like
why I'm the same, right? But I'm not diabetic. But the way I look at it is, um, there's birthday Satine, which is eat all the things, deal with it later, and then there's I eat vegetables and proteins, and this is what I do so that I can eat whatever I want for Christmas and my birthday.
that makes sense.
Eat for function, and then just go balls to the wall, like just as crazy as I can. And then, but I also get food hangovers now.
Yeah, that's a real thing. Uh, as my defunct natural being, I'm a fat guy and I like to eat. Unfortunately, I've always been like a chubby kid, and I've always had to work super hard at not putting on weight. Like my body is a meat packing machine. I mean, I'm lucky in the sense that it's not particular. It's not that particular about what kind of meat it'll pack on. So if I treat it well, I can develop muscle fairly easy. But I also gain fat and weight super easy too.
Oh man, I'll gain 10 pounds in a month just because I'm a girl. It's real weird. Um, I love eating. I love food so much. The reason why I work out so hard is so I can eat a lot. And the reason why I eat healthy food is so I can eat continuously throughout the day. It is so much fun to eat. So I can eat a salad with like all sorts of vegetables and flavors and seasonings and like eggs. And I'm into Beyond Burgers right now because I can't have soy, but I really love Beyond Burgers and or steak or whatever. And then I can eat this much of it, or I can have like two Snickers bars and then feel like shit afterwards.
Yeah.
And so it's like I'm gonna go through those Snickers in about a minute and two, and I'll go through two of them in a minute. I'm like, or I could just be like shoveling food in my face for 2 hours, and that's gonna make me feel better.
Yeah, I feel like
Real talk.
I have to move away from my family and the house into isolation because like they eat what they want and they bring it in the house, and I have no self control. Like what I said, I could be good for a day, 2 days, 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, whatever. But eventually I am, and once the dam breaks, it's oh my god, it's terrible.
I know.
It's an awful thing to see. No one should ever witness that. It should happen in the dark of night.
Yeah, no, I get it. It was funny because I'm like, honey, I'm not even scared of talking about it. I'm a girl. I PMS, and I'm like, one day you're gonna see what happens. I'm gonna come home. I'm gonna have a chicken. It's gonna be gone in 2 minutes. I'm gonna be wearing it all over my face, and maybe if things are real bad, I'm gonna have a cake, like a whole cake, not like a kind of cake. I'm gonna go to Ralph's. I'm gonna get one of those sheet cakes, and I'm gonna eat the whole thing in one sitting. And I don't want you to shame me, and I don't want you to give me that look. I'm doing this. I'm committing.
Now I'm just picturing you, over the remains of a cake, looking up like Gollum.
Yeah, like, oh.
My precious.
Exactly. No, but that's real. That is real talk. And I don't care how much you work out. You like most of us love eating, and but it hurts so much that we do stop. Like I can't eat that cake all the time because also like all those sugars will make me depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
talk
sugar.
about food all day.
Sugar is its own drug, for sure.
Do you get the sugar sweats? I get the sugar sweats. I
Well,
guess like some people get meat sweats.
so now I'm diabetic too, but I have other indicators where I know it's just like, oh, this is bad, because I'll start seeing spots, and so what that is actually sugar crystals. Like if you're diabetic and your body does not absorb the sugar, you'll see the sugar crystals like float across your eyes, and yeah, and one of the reasons the other thing's kind of depressing that I can't really like lift the way I want to. I felt lifting really helped with that. I felt like post workout, my body would just suck up the sugar, and those mechanisms that weren't working properly normally. Post workout, it kind of got it to work, and it would take the sugar out of my system.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
I mean, you
Okay,
could
I
do.
figured it out. I figured it
You
out.
figured it out. Okay.
Quarantine is our threshold guardian. In the story, in the hero's journey of our lives, quarantine is this thing that kind of puts ourselves in front of our faces and goes, who are you when you're not responsible for doing all these things and going out and doing the things that you do every day? Who are you as a person? Who are you if you're left alone to your own devices? Who are you when you don't have to wake up at any specific hour of the day? What do you do when you don't have to shower ever? You know what I mean? Do you? It's really neat. I think that this quarantine is making us reflect on the things that we love and why we love them and what's important to us and what things mean to us. Now, that said, sometimes you react to it in a very like, oh, now I know that's a thing. Now I can fix it. Or you just go into a depression. There's a whole lot of things that, can happen from these kinds of reflections. But I think that, like, I don't know if anyone's ever had anything this intense to make them reflect on themselves. Like, we're doing a lot of reflecting right now, talking about like the things that we miss and working out and why we eat things. And like, I don't know. I really think that this is a good time for us to like montage and become the hero that we want to be. Does that make sense?
No, absolutely. I mean, you're right. There is, many of us do have extra time where we can be spending that to reflect and decide, or maybe like you said, this is just revealing to us who we are in these hard times. And I know, like, I don't know why, but I'm more tired than ever.
Oh yeah.
And my life has barely changed. So it's so weird. Like, I don't go to Ted's once a week and film, and we just film remotely now. So I don't know why it's affecting me the way it is. Like I said, the only thing that's really different is my kids are here because my son's doing college from the house, and my daughter's doing high school from the house, and Steph hasn't worked in a couple of years since she got sick. So not that much has really changed, but psychologically, I guess the world has changed, and it's
Are
hard to
you online more?
not to feel that. Probably the same amount, but online's
Oh, okay.
changed too, I think.
Yeah,
Right?
it's hard, man. Like, it's
Yeah.
exhausting. So I'm trying to do less being on social media and more like, oh, that half hour I spent on. Okay, I'm really addicted to TikTok right now. I just really love watching people be really happy. Like, well, I've got this piano sitting here, and I should just learn how to use it instead of spending an hour or 30 minutes on social media. It is a way to connect with people, but also, man, learning skills in this, I feel like people are going to be surprised. I know a lot of friends are learning languages right now. Now that I'm learning how to be a filmmaker and I'm practicing actually like using a camera, setting up audio and understanding lenses and editing and VFX. I did VFX on the Hell's Bells thing. It was really cool. Like, I don't know. I'm just babbling now.
It's okay. You
But
also
I'm
have
really
such an
happy to see it.
awesome rig that I've seen that you've shared on social media a few times that I've seen, and I'm like, ooh. And then I was like, oh, if I had that, it wouldn't matter. I don't know how to use any of that.
Oh,
So,
so that was the thing, right? Like, it took me a little while to figure it out, but I've got my Blackmagic Micro Studio camera, and I have it hooked up to a monitor. But I also have it. What is that? I have an A10 Mini, and so basically, I've got this super portable mini rig, and I have my iMac, and I've got like it's just all connected with the USB-C cables, and that's it. Like, it's not big at all. I could literally take this to the park if I wanted to and stream from there. And like, I'm very proud of myself for figuring this out.
we are so anti tech. Like even when we were filming together, we like have our setup and we set it up the same way every time, and that we never change anything.
I just leave it now. Now that I've
Yeah.
got it, I leave it. It just sits there. It lives there.
Well,
That's the key. Just, once you do it, you just don't move it.
yeah. Well, we shoot at Ted's house, and
Oh, okay,
our
yeah.
studio is in his basement, and it's not like its own self-contained room.
Oh,
So he's
yeah.
got smaller children that are very rambunctious.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, we can't just leave things set up.
It looked good though, man. It looked really good. You know, your lighting and your cameras, like you had pretty
We
solid stuff.
So we had Brian Stillman come over and shoot like a series with
Yay.
us.
Yeah.
And then we're like, hey, can you do that again? But this time teach us. And so we set everything up and he kind of taught us how to do it and confused us a lot when he used his big fancy film words.
Yeah.
But no, that was super helpful. Um,
Yeah, I've got all this equipment for Gilding Light, right? I've got originally Gilding Light is a portable studio. So we take our equipment to locations and then we can film whatever we want. But now I don't have my production, I don't have my audio guy or my editor, and it's like I got all this amazing equipment and I have to learn how to use it because
you're it.
yeah, exactly. So um I've got my home rig and then I have this new one where I'm learning how to shoot. I got one cam, now I'm doing like trying to do like two cameras, but it's just trial and error. You know, I relied on other people for so long to set these things up
Yeah.
that now it's like you just even as a director, like I'm really excited because once this is over, I'm getting my production team back. But I know what they go through now. I know what they all the little pieces. I know how hard it is to communicate while you're trying to get a focus, or you're trying to line up that shot, or how hard it is to communicate when you're listening for the crackles in the ambiance and trying to get that room tone, or you know the mic isn't angled the right way, and how to like nurture your actors so that they have that energy, and you got to keep them involved and you got to give them the attention they need while also setting up the lighting. You know, if you had to set up lighting all by yourself
Yeah.
and you've got like two people that you're like, it's so much to think about that when they come back, I'm going to be like, I worship you. You're the hardest workers I know, and nobody gives you the love you need. And so now I'll be able to be like, I don't know, I have a better understanding and be able to communicate properly to them to get even better stuff.
The unsung heroes.
They really are. I mean, you know, you see movies. My ex-husband, Joe, I love him. He's wonderful. He is a compositor. He does VFX. He just put out his reel. And I remember we were married like 10 years ago. And when we were together, he's like, I always wanted to work on comic book movies. His reel now is all comic book movies. And what he does is he makes the 3D and the normal videos and he puts the effects on them so that they look real. And he's got Doctor Strange on there and he's got Thor and he's got all these movies. And I'm like so proud of him. And he just works like 90 hours a week. And he just plugs away and nobody knows that, you know, he had any part in this until like you see his name in the credits and you see all these people's names in the credits
Yeah.
and nobody knows that they work till their eyes bleed on these things, that you know they lose relationships or whatever because they work so hard. So
And they're not
I
making millions of dollars
and
either.
they're not making millions of dollars. So now, you know, I've done comic books. I will never look at a comic book the same way. I will never toss a comic book on a table. I will always place it because my 3 graphic novels were very hard to make. It took 4 months each out of my life to make 16 hours a day. I will never look at that. I will never look at a TV show or a short film. Our Hell's Bells is only 10 minutes. My part that I filmed is only 3 minutes, right? I will never look at any part of that. Someone's like, hey, can you make a static effect on this? And I'm like, I'm going to learn. And I did. And I'm like, wow, I've made magic. So, but I'm Satine. I appreciate everyone.
Oh no, that is so cool. One of the things that we've been talking about doing is like going to the local colleges and hiring like maybe some like juniors or seniors to come help us out when we film, just to like one like they probably technically know way more than we do anyway. Uh, and just like it's hard when you're when you have to be the person in it and also set everything up and run everything as well. And since there's two of us, it's like one of us will look, then we switch places,
Yeah.
and we're just not like we don't have. We're getting old. Our eyes aren't so great, and
Yeah. Well, that's why I really like having like Heath is a great actor. So like I get to practice with him. He puts out so much that I mean, I don't have to do that much because he's so good at what he does.
uh,
But like I get to practice with somebody who understands what like the film world, you know. And that's really important too. Plus support, having somebody, having a family there that understands that you're taking the time to practice these things is really important.
no, absolutely. I mean, having that network of people behind you when you're trying to do a thing, especially if it's new, is super helpful. I mean, oftentimes we get asked, about starting a YouTube channel or doing things like that, and like people just don't understand like how much work they're going to have to put into it to make it viable.
It's a
And
lot. Speaking of, so I don't know if you seen what I've been doing lately with Gilding Light, but
what?
I was like, I don't know, maybe I'm just getting tired of being in front of the camera. I don't know. But I also know that I felt very lucky and I was so lucky to have like been with Geek and Sundry and all the people who've given me chances, you know, and just given me shows. So I have women dungeon masters dungeon mastering on Gilding Light
Oh,
so
nice.
that the
So,
world can see how awesome they are.
are they doing games or are they
Yeah.
doing? Okay.
They're doing mini series. So Lily Sparks, hers is Sundays. Kaylee Bray is on Mondays. So Lily's is 1 o'clock on Sundays. Kaylee's is 6 o'clock on Mondays. And Alice Cleaver from Scraticus Academy,
Mm-hmm.
hers is on Fridays at 4. And I'm partnering with them to make that. So I'm very proud of them. And then we have there's a couple other dungeon masters. V is going to do one. We're still working on hers, and then Fenway is doing one.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm so proud of them. Like, I'm looking for more female dungeon masters. I really want to amplify our community and the women in our community that work so hard and are so creative. You know, so I'm just trying to give other people a platform to do the things that they love to do, like I did.
So in the pin post, I have your Twitter for for Gilding Light, your personal Twitter, and as well as the website. So I suspect people will be able to go there and find these shows.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's
Nice,
just Satine and Gilding Light on like everything.
pretty much.
Yeah.
So they are these been ongoing, or is it something that's starting?
So they started May 1st and they're Alice's is 8 episodes and Kaylee and Lily's are 4 episodes. But Lily is like, what if we do the second season? What if I do a show where I'm showing you the behind the scenes of how I put together the games? So it's like 4 episodes of the show, 4 episodes of behind the dungeon master screen,
Mm-hmm.
and then the 4 episode season 2. And I was like, yeah, that's amazing.
No,
So
that
she's
sounds
getting to do
great.
her own dungeon master, tips type thing.
How
So
long are the tips videos?
I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know yet. We just figured this out.
okay.
Yeah, this is all new and it's fun because, all the women have such awesome ideas. And so I'm like, yeah, so you can do this. Like, what if we did this? It's like, yes, do
So,
that.
so does Callie is she running for the princesses?
They are doing a Aesop's Fables kind.
Okay.
So Kaylee's doing Aesop's Fables, and let's see if I can grab up. They have such awesome players too. I want to make sure everyone gets a shout out. Okay.
I am just most aware of Kaylee because she did the princesses, the Dungeons and Dragons princesses, and
Yeah.
it's not really a game, more of a show. But I thought it was great, and also it's shorter content, which is like I
Yeah.
gravitate towards more so.
Yeah, it's so much fun. It's so well produced. So Kaylee is 6 p.m. Mondays. It's the Aesop's Fables. It's called Poseidon's Folly, and it has Ember Moon, Johnny Stanton, Kurt Caceres, and Alicia Marie. So you've got your WWE, you've got your football player, and you got your actor, and then you've got Alicia, who's like one of the most amazing cosplayers I've ever seen. And then Lily's is like magical girl,
Okay.
like Sailor Moon or all the other ones, and that has Verona Blue and Cynthia Marie and Gabe Hicks and Tybee, and it's just like all the games are so different, and theirs is like da da da, and that one's called Soul Searching, and then Zara, that is Alice Cleavers, and that has Kiana and Mackenzie and Ryan Omega and um, B from Cognitive Merchant, all
Now,
the way over in Manchester.
are they running different games? Or are they all running D&D games?
Um, Zara is a Monty Cook game.
Okay.
I'm not familiar with that rule set, but I'm really happy that
Yeah.
she's putting out that and showing that I'm not I can't play other than Dungeons and Dragons because I don't know, but I
That's not
think
true. I've seen you play other games.
a vampire. Yeah, you saw vampire. Um, I mean, I have played other games, but
I
it's
know.
really hard for me to. I feel like I'm cheating on Dungeons and Dragons.
Probably, probably.
But like it is important because like every time I do play other games, I learn and then I bring it back to D&D, right? So, um yeah, Alice's games are so imaginative and they're so soothing and very like dreamy. Um it's fantasy, but this one is her story. Like this is her world, her story, and so this is like her coming up from scratch, her coming out with it from scratch. I'm very proud of them.
That is awesome. And also, I would like to say it's okay to be polygamorous. We definitely support that here at Nerdarchy, even though we mainly talk about D&D.
That's true. Yeah, I've got so with Zara, Scraticus Academy is partnered with that. But then like running production, so some of the other ones, sometimes I'm running my games when they're gaming. So Grant Ellis is a producer on a show, and then Mini Terrain Domain Jake is another producer. So I love that the community is helping each other, and so like that they're all banding together to promote and amplify these women who work so hard. It makes me feel so good.
Yeah, Grant is awesome, the bad boy of D&D, as well as Jake is awesome as well. He plays in he plays in Ted's RPG Crate game, monthly game, and is kind enough to run production for Ted because
Yay.
Ted does not tech.
Hashtag Ted does not tech.
Yeah, but yeah, and honestly, there's people out there that are producing games are godsends because especially when you get someone who's really good at it,
Hmm.
and like they'll add like switching in and effects and cool things like that. It just elevates everything to the next level.
Yeah, because like we are better because of each other, and like I'm learning so much from them. If I was to do it all on my own, like there's no way that it would be as awesome as it is right now.
Yeah. Although mentioning Jake makes me a little sad because I was hoping to see his pyramid game run at the convention this year, but
Oh,
2021, 2021.
2021.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know if
everyone's doing that.
I don't know if you've
All
seen it,
games. Mm-mm.
but Jake has this awesome terrain game with this pyramid that comes apart that he runs, and
What?
it is just so amazing looking.
That's cool. That's
Yeah, for
super
sure.
cool.
So we are well past the hour mark, and I could just sit here and talk to you forever. I haven't even asked the chat for questions or taken any questions. I apologize, chat. Hey, check out Satine's links in the pinned comment. Also, if you have not subscribed to this channel, it is a different one than our normal one. We're putting all the live chats and gameplays and stuff over here by itself. If you're interested in that kind of content, please subscribe and hit the notification bell. Satine, thank you for so much for coming on. It's been a while, too long, really.
I miss you so much. Oh man, and I see you. I'm gonna give you the biggest hug, and people are gonna have to pry me off of you.
I approve of this message. So until next time, everyone, stay nerdy.